All right, it seems like we was just on, but we are back, Ryan, and that 1-0 start that we were hoping for turned into reality, Ryan. And you know it has to be a good night when you're receiving multiple ESPN notifications, not only the final score 98-39 UConn all over a Northeastern, but Fudd plus the foul, it says. Azzi Fudd gets the hoop plus the harm to help UConn build 32-point halftime lead versus Northeastern. And that was an hour ago. But, Ryan, as we see, Azzi Fudd scored 26, had a rebound, 4 assists. I think this was really a statement game for her personally. I cannot wait to hear what you had to say about the game. I know you told me the different defenses that they were playing man-to-man, Northeastern playing man-to-man defense, UConn more of that 3-2, 2-3, whatever you told me. But again, man, it seems like everybody got the chance to touch the basketball, almost just about everybody. So Ryan, again, here we are starting the season, just like we always like to see, a blowout UConn victory. Now we can approach it and move forward after we get this podcast over with and say, hey, what's next? But what did you think about this big win to start the season?
Yeah, well, they definitely can't celebrate for too long because it's going to be a quick turnaround to Monday for Texas. But so much to go over here tonight. Great game versus Northeastern. Really couldn't ask for much more. Just barely missed the 100-point mark. Only scored 98, but they almost got there. I know the fans there in stores in the Gamble Pavilion were cheering for it there at the end, but they ran out of time. But I mean,
I was looking, not to cut you off real quick. I predicted 102 and you predicted 93, it looks like.
Yeah.
So, and then the defense really, I mean, you said they would give up 48 points. I said 59. They gave up 39 points.
Yeah, they did better than what we thought on defense, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like I said in the episode before this one, I kind of thought UConn would start maybe a little slow on offense, and in my opinion, they did. But they eventually got it going.
Okay.
But Nika Mule just continued her defensive intensity, creating turnovers, getting steals, so many fast break opportunities for UConn tonight, so many turnovers. And I mean, it's just awesome to see UConn play that type of defense.
Yeah.
Everybody was so guarding Northeastern up tight in their face, making everything challenging. Northeastern didn't get too many easy shots, that's for sure, the whole entire night. So that's really great to see from UConn the whole entire night. Their defense was amazing. The half court press as well. Gino was getting on him about that. They're up 50 points, but Gino wants them to keep bringing that intensity for games in the future down the road, so they can be prepared when the game is 2 or 4 points there at the end of the fourth quarter. But yeah, I mean, UConn's defense continuing to create turnovers. Aubrey Griffin checked into the game in the first quarter. So did Ayanna Patterson. They played really big minutes tonight. I thought both of them played an excellent game. Now, Ayanna did foul out, I believe, in the fourth quarter. I want to say she picked up 4 early fouls at halftime. So she didn't really play a whole lot in the second half. But besides that, I think Ayanna and Aubrey Griffin played excellent basketball tonight, along with everyone else. And at a halftime, UConn scored just under half of their points off of turnovers. They had 9 total turnovers. It was 29-9 at the end of one quarter. Azzi Edwards is another player, in my opinion, that had another great game tonight. And in my opinion, she looks like a completely different player than what she did last season. I know we kind of said she was in a sophomore slump for the beginning of last season, but tonight, getting rebounds, getting putbacks, I think she had a really great game tonight.
What is if you had to, well, first of all, I have to ask you, are you shocked at this performance by Azzi Fudd? Because to me, I know we talked a lot about her in the exhibition recap, but if you ask me, Ryan, getting back to her, this is not only because she had the most points in tonight's game. All right. I'm going to say this with confidence. All right. I'm going to say this with confidence. Um, with confidence, aside from Dorka Juhas, right? Aside from Dorka Juhas, I just went with her. I rolled the dice and went with her early in the offseason because, hey, she's a senior, a lot of experience. Um, she wants to prove she can return from that wrist injury, right? Stronger than ever.
Yeah.
With that said, and again, not UConn, Dorka Juhas rather, came in and she looked really good. Looked really good. Passing the ball, or rebounds, or defense, or offense. She really handled, especially when Paige Beckers went out last season. Dorka Juhas stepped up for this team a lot. Give her credit. With that said, I wanted to ask you, is this a point in time where Azzi Fudd, I get it. This is one game into the 22-23 season. Anything that you're seeing just specifically about Azzi Fudd where she's proving to you not only she can help the team win ball games, but she can be even more than that. A clutch, consistent ball player. Okay. Somebody that you can count on when we all know that the best player is off of the floor. So is this, and because this school is loaded, we keep saying it over and over again, loaded with talent, but are you starting to see something? What's the word I want to use? Hatch, hatch. I mean, is this something that, or do you think, and that's okay if you think someone else is going to take the spotlight, or if you think it's going to be a whole team effort with Paige Beckers out, but is this something that's, is it a coincidence, or are we starting to see what people said? No, she can't be a leader. She can't be a leader. Look, I got 2 words for you. Azzi Fudd.
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I think obviously all season it's going to have to be a team effort every single game if UConn's going to win on both sides of the basketball, offensively and defensively. But to me, I mean, especially defensively, they're going to have to show up like that in every single game to be able to win because their offense can improve. But I mean, speaking of offense and Azzi Fudd, it's kind of what we expect out of Azzi Fudd, right? Is to pretty much lead all of UConn players
Right.
in scoring. And it's not all about scoring, but that's just what Azzi Fudd does. She's a solid defensive player. But her, her ability to shoot the basketball, create her own shots. Now, she only made 1 3-pointer tonight, but she still scored 26 points. So that just proves
Right
that she
there.
doesn't need to make all of her 3-point shots, and she can still be effective, making free throws, driving, making layups, hitting her mid-range shots. So it's just kind of what we expect from Azzi Fudd. I wouldn't necessarily say she has to be the leader of the team. I think Nika Mule does such a good job on the defensive side, obviously, but on the offense, she's yelling out the plays, yelling to all of her teammates, telling them how to get set up, bringing the ball down the court. So Nika Mule just does such a great job getting everybody set up for the best opportunity to put them in to get rebounds and scoring opportunities. Great facilitator for the team, but I definitely don't think it's really a surprise that Azzi Fudd is going to really lead in points for most of the games for UConn. And I can definitely see her down the stretch going into March Madness and in March Madness being that clutch shooter that UConn's going to need.
Now, we've seen it before. Again, I'm not being negative here. We've seen it before, though, how a team gets on a roll, right? A team gets on a roll. They get into the groove and they get used to who is around them, who is, and they build the chemistry up, who's playing around them, who gets how many minutes over here, over there, who gets the ball, where, when, how, why, all of that. Right. Now, I'm not specifically putting the target on her back, or the spotlight on Caroline Ducharme when she's ready to return. But all I'm saying is, Ryan, is it any concern if Ducharme is held out for an extended amount of time and this team is on a roll? Now, I'm not saying they're just going to have troubles if if she comes back or when she's ready to come back, because she's a very talented basketball player. With that said, when things are going right, you know that saying, when things are going right, just leave it, leave it alone. Any concern for you as far as shaking this roster up, when healthy players are ready to come back? Or, that's just, you say, you know what, Phil, everybody is full of talent. Put anybody that is ready to play on this roster, put them in, Phil. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fair question, and I can see the level of concern you might have, but I definitely think, I mean, I was going to bring up, if I had to give one criticism or critique for this game that I saw, it's going to be on the offensive side. And sometimes UConn, to me, seems too fast, or they find themselves, they're just kind of ahead of themselves, and they get turnovers, and they make passes they don't need to make, or they're kind of indecisive still. And that might just be, they're just kind of getting warmed up. But I think from the offensive side, Caroline Ducharme also brings a lot to this team. And that's why Lou Lopez was bringing her in this offseason is going to turn out to be so huge for this team. She had another great night tonight offensively and playing great defense as well. So she's just fitting in perfectly with this team. Can't ask much more out of her. So she's definitely filling in for the absence of Caroline Ducharme, I would say. But I don't think, there's any level of concern when Caroline Ducharme is healthy and works her way back into this roster and maybe even the starting lineup. I think Lou Lopez is a player that can come off the bench or be in the starting lineup and have an equal amount of impact, kind of like we saw with Avina Westbrook last season.
How about Iva came through on this game night after this rout of Northeastern, right? And we can call
now you can
rout,
call it a rout.
Officially a rout. Iva goes, great recruiting class. We'll see how they adjust to college basketball. At least they will have enough players next year. Only Dorka and Lou not coming back. Hoping Caroline will be ready for Texas game. I think this UConn team has a different mindset. Yeah, and I would agree with that because, again, these two big injuries during the offseason, Ryan, and I'm not going to keep saying their names over and over because it stings, it burns, it hurts a lot, losing both of them. But with that said, you know what, man? It's definitely, we talk so much about, it's just going to hurt. They lost these players and, how are they going to step up and how are they going to respond? But sometimes I agree with Iva, that burning mindset of you turning on the TV every day and this reporter and that reporter and, the sports shows that you watch. No, they can't. These morning shows, Get Up, their title, Get Up, Ryan. No, I'm just kidding. They're not called that. But, different shows called Get Up, this and that. No, they can't do it. They can't do it. They can't do it. That's all we hear. They can't do it. They can't do this. They can't do that. Don't you think these players, that does something to these players when they go home at night, whether that's in their room on college campus, whether that's at practice, whether that's during game time, right? And it better darn well come at game time, don't you think that pushes them when they keep hearing people say, well, two players are injured, so that's it, their season is over? Man, look, I agree with Iva. It's something to prove there on the table, man, because it's given. If you have a fully healthy roster, okay, well, you're favored to go out and win all your games and win it all. But now it's actually something to prove.
Yeah, and especially for UConn, because obviously they're going to be good every year. And now that they have two injuries, and that a lot of the talk has been during the all season that they can't do it. So now they have to go out and prove everyone wrong. But I don't necessarily think, that's their main focus. I think the focus is just winning. And that's what this team has done for about 20 years now. So they're used to winning here. And I think, they definitely brought it tonight, and they proved something tonight that even though they're without three players now, they're going to bring that same intensity no matter who's on the floor or who's playing. what lineup they're starting with. They're going to bring the same amount of energy, intensity every single game. That's what I think they proved tonight. And hopefully they can bring that against Texas, because I think they're going to need it. But it was a great performance from everybody tonight.
It makes me smile seeing some of the names that we haven't seen for a while during the whole off season. They're finally back. You know, our regular uh, uh, subscribers on this podcast that came through all of last season. Rachel Fight. We haven't seen that name for a while, Ryan. She is back, and she says they can always use a center. Dorka will be gone next year as well. Hopefully, Jana doesn't mind getting physical, can finish at the rim, and is a strong rebounder. And she's referring to that newest recruit, the recruiting class of 2023.
Yeah, and you can definitely never have too much depth, especially with forwards and centers. And like I mentioned, the depth at forward and centers hasn't really been the best here at UConn for the past couple of years. But now, even with Dorka Juhas leaving, I think Aaliyah Edwards will be a senior next year. And of course, Ayanna Patterson, Ice Brady will be sophomores. But Aaliyah Edwards and Ayanna Patterson played a good bit tonight together, I believe. And I think for next year, especially this year, they're going to be really good. But next year, they're going to be a force down there together. And I would expect Ayanna Patterson to be in that starting lineup for next season alongside Aaliyah Edwards. And those two down there, I think they're going to be a real force for years to come. And even with Jana coming in next season, she can learn a lot from those two girls, and Ice Brady as well. And bringing her off the bench if all possible, and getting her minutes is definitely going to be something something very, very, very special and exciting to look forward to.
I love how Patterson got a lot of playing time tonight. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, she
So
definitely
they
did.
must have seen something in the summer workouts or somewhere around along them lines for her to. I mean, just a freshman. A freshman, is that right?
Yeah, freshman. Yeah.
Patterson. So that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, that is brilliant, great work by Patterson. So Gina must see something. Keep your eye on her, as far as when we give our mid-season awards, when we give our awards out after the season is over. Telling you, man, freshman of the year right there, Patterson. I tell you what, she did. You mentioned she had 4 quick fouls on her, but again, I told you, no reason for concern, man. They'll with head coach Gino, they'll get that stuff fixed up very quickly.
Yeah.
I think that's her just knocking the rust off. Obviously her first career college game.
Yeah, and no excuses, but there were a couple bad calls on both sides of the ball definitely tonight from the referees, and I know probably a couple of UConn fans that were watching the game got frustrated with a couple of calls that I believe a couple of them were on Ayanna Patterson, but a couple questionable calls. That's going to happen every game. There are no excuses, but yeah, Ayanna's going to get a lot of minutes, it appears, either way, and she played great tonight.
Great work by the whole team. And again, Ryan, that will put an end to this one. Final 98-39, UConn all over Northeastern. Shout out to Northeastern for the effort that they put in this game. And you know what? We'll leave it off right there as the Longhorns, Ryan. The Longhorns.
Hook 'em
Hey,
horns.
you're ready for that one. We're in for a special treat on Monday. And we're expecting a lot of hype coming up, leading up to this game, because, hey, you have a number 3 versus a number 6. So it's going to get very, very chippy here coming up before Monday. But, Ryan, we will leave it right there. And the last check-in before the Longhorns come to town will be sometime this weekend. Ryan, I will see you leading up to Texas week.